Well, I'm all into masculine presence and directedness, so I say let's jump right in. When have you felt really in your healthy masculine, a time that sticks out that you said, yeah, I'm proud of that moment?
I had a kind of a moment with my dad. My father was essentially kind of like guiding my wife as to how best to kind of connect into the family. Something didn't sit well with me. And so I basically called him out and I was like, actually, Dad, that's not how this should work. My wife, Steph, needs to feel invited into the family just as much as she needs to make an effort. It needs to go both ways. It was an opportunity for me to create a pod with my wife that this is my family. If I see something that doesn't feel right, I'm gonna say it. I will also stand up for what I feel is out of line. And so
Yeah.
it was a really cool opportunity, and it actually brought my father and I closer together as well because he really saw me in a light that was helpful for him. In fact, my dad's just an amazing guy, so I'll give him some masculine
Mm.
props as well. He could be someone that you interview at some point if you wanted. But he
Nice.
and I were looking at putting a program together because we have kind of an estranged relationship where for 13 years I didn't see him. We spoke, on my birthday and kind of certain points, but he lives in Europe, I live in Canada, and I was living in the States for part of that. But he um he and I had this kind of separation, and we have since reconnected, and we've got this really beautiful relationship where every Wednesday, without fail, we do a Zoom call, and we hang out and talk about what both of us are going through. I get advice from him, around life, and he gets
Mm.
advice from me around technology and
Mm.
marketing and stuff like that. And yeah, it's a very beautifully beneficial relationship. We
Yeah.
actually created a course that since it needs to get finished, but around building those relationships with
Like father
father,
and son?
yeah, father and son
Oh
relationships. Yeah,
man, that could be gold. Just like well needed.
yeah, absolutely.
And I think a lot of people would want that.
Yeah, I agree.
Nice.
I agree.
Because your chorus, which we'll chat about in a second, have you ever seen a time when one of the men that you've been helping have been in their unhealthy masculine and just maybe a way that you help them through that?
Only the guys who take the training get some sharp feedback from me and other guys in the training that, like, when there's something that feels sort of out of line, people know very quickly, and they get told, hey, that's not a way that we talk about things. That's not. And I think I would say, like, it would be hard for me to pinpoint one. Um, but I would say that there is a pattern early on, and with guys who don't, feeling like you're owed something, and that there's a trying not to use the word incel, but I'm just gonna call it out. There's this feeling of like, I'm being forced to, I'm being held down by other dominant men, and I'm being kind of pushed away by women that I'm attracted to, and I'm not able to kind of get what I want, which is respect, love, intimacy, and so then there's this kind of bubbling frustration. And so I'd say it comes out in the form of like kind of language, like little subtle and sometimes not so subtle language when talking about women or talking about other men that they're, um, maybe they feel less than. Um, so I would say that's one of the ways that it sort of exposes itself is through this um, subtle language patterns around frustration. And yeah, you can just sort of see it kind of bubbling under the surface and this kind of aggression that's,
Mm.
fortunately, I I'm a high ticket offer. My training is very hands on. It requires a lot of my time, so I charge a lot, which means I only work with so many people at a time, which means I get to pick and choose who I work with.
Mm.
So you'll have noticed that um, they're all pretty great guys who end up in the training, um, because like I have like kind of like a nice guy policy. I want to work with nice guys
Mm.
and like help them get past some of their patterns. I'm not interested in working with like clear douchebag guys. Um, Maybe they're a nice guy who's got like little kind of douchey patterns.
Mm.
I'll work with that. Um, but it's kind of a fortunate position I'm in where I get to pick and choose who I want to work with.
Yeah. I admit that like when I was in my last year of high school, no, my first year of high school, I had this sense that I deserved to be with a woman without even approaching in a nice way. That I figured if I had the courage to go up to her, then she had to kind of repay me with a date
Wow.
or whatnot.
Yeah.
And it's like that was learned into me before I ever asked a woman out. And I didn't ask a woman out for years later. But at first, I remember that thought thinking, no, if I go up to her, then I deserve her. Like she's then mine.
Right. Right.
So that's
Yeah.
something that I could see being learned out of us in a gentle, but maybe not so gentle, as you're saying. Like,
Sometimes a little shake is helpful.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I would say I we can't blame everything on the media, obviously, but I'd say the media has done a lot to and social media has just like amplified that. So it's
yeah,
like the media trained all these people what romance and what attraction looks like, and now all these people have this thought about it, and now they all have huge Instagram followings.
mm,
So it just kind of continues to proliferate these wacky concepts.
mm,
Um, but that's a really good awareness, and I think it's one that a lot of beliefs that a lot of guys have, which is, and it's kind of taught also by families. You know, they're like, just get a good job, just
mm.
work really hard in school, get a good job, and then the next obvious step is that you'll get married and have a family. And
Yeah, as if
it's like,
that's
yeah,
enough.
that's not guaranteed anymore.
Mm,
You know, it used to be maybe when you lived in a small town and you were an okay looking person and you had a good job, so you're making good money. Yeah, of course you'd find someone. But now in modern life in these big cities, it's not like that anymore. And
mm.
it's frustrating for a lot of people for sure.
Yeah, and I think of my nephews now when I think about who I want to help, or myself like 10, 15 years ago. But my
Yeah.
nephews, they've grown up completely surrounded by internet.
Yeah.
And what have they learned?
God.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. I think we're in for like a wave of sociopaths coming through. Like I think like this modern technology is creating less empathy. It's rewarding kind of extreme behavior, and it's going to create patterns where people are more focused on likes than loves. You know, they're not interested in like genuine connection. They're
Mm.
interested in the thumbs up and the click.
The little heart emoji.
Yeah, exactly, which does not pump the way that a real heart pumps, you know? So it doesn't
Yeah.
give you what you need.
The connection.
Yeah,
Actually,
it's like social. Go ahead.
I listened to a Tony Robbins interview that he did, and I forget the guy's name, but he was saying that it'll come full circle because this generation that's growing up in that way, their kids will be so
Turned off by it.
disinterested,
Yeah.
yeah, by the technology, and they see their parents.
Hopefully.
I hope
Hopefully.
so. That was
If
when listening to it, I was like, oh my God, yes.
it'd be great. I do think that as we're kind of getting into a different tangent, but as businesses become more and more focused on it, I think it'll be a necessity that people are online and in the
Mm.
metaverse and all this. I think that is like a kind of an inevitable trajectory that we're on at this point. Um, Now, can we kind of break away and have that be a version of life, and then we also have like
We'll have
OG
to.
life? I don't know. I hope so. I mean, I definitely hope so.
Well, what do you think like a man can do right now, a small thing? Because I took your course, and we'll get into that just after this.
Sure.
What can a man do like every day? Because I remember one of your big things was just smile at the first person you see and say hello.
Say hello. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it changed my mood every morning. I would just be like, yeah, I can say hello to this person, and that can go on to other people. And it made me feel
Well, that's it.
that
So
much
it
better.
makes you feel good,
Mm.
and it also makes them feel good. Like they get this feeling of like, oh, humanity. It's like, oh, humanity. Look at that.
A smile.
Another human. Okay, cool. Um, Especially when you do it without any intention, you're not trying to get anything.
Yeah.
You're literally just saying, good morning. How's your morning going? Awesome. Crush your day. Go for it.
Yeah.
Like just like having that kind of generous energy. Um, yeah, so I'd say that's something. I'd say honestly, the idea of getting out of your comfort zone is something that I do value a lot. But that's not news. Like Wim Hof has gotten us all out of our comfort zone. This is happening. People, the coaches are always telling you to get out of your comfort zone. So I think there's also some benefit to your comfort zone, and um, having a good comfort zone where you don't just kind of sit and go unconscious and get online, but you actually process what you've done outside of your comfort zone. So
Okay.
get out of your comfort zone every day. Say hello to someone. Um, Strike up like actual full-on conversations with people when you feel inspired. Ideally, a few a day. Cold showers, obviously.
Hmm.
Thank you, Wim. Um, but what about your comfort zone? How can we turn your comfort zone into a place where you grow, not just a place where you um, just, you know, and just kind of go into sleep mode? Like, what if your comfort zone was also a place where you processed and reflected and grew? It's like the recovery process when you're exercising.
It's the most valuable part. Yeah.
Your comfort zone, yes, obviously, it's a necessity. But when you're in your comfort zone, what can you do in there to kind of lift yourself up? Journaling, um, communicating with close friends that you feel really comfortable with, and processing your feelings there, um, processing with your partner. Um, and I'm not saying don't watch, you know, the new Game of Thrones and relax. Do it. It's great. But make sure that it's not all that. That okay, when I'm in my comfort zone, I just sit on the couch and just kind of like avoid feelings. That's not the point either.
I met you through your social fluency course, and
Mhm.
I feel I leveled up chatting with people just on a bus anywhere, and also
Yeah,
through work. Like
cool.
I stood up for myself. My boundaries went up big time with
Great.
that.
Yeah,
And I would love for you to just let us know a bit about your course and who you are.
sure. Um, but I love hearing that. And I also I loved watching your trajectory because it was it was like quiet and then it was a roar.
Mm.
And it was like, whoa, there you go. The exercises that I have people do on a daily basis are kind of slowly building out these muscles that they're not even aware that they're building. And then
Mm.
next thing they know, they're in a situation and their muscles engage and they're like, whoa, I'm stronger than I thought I was. Um, but yeah, so my name, Devon O'Brien Ash. My company is called Social Fluency, and I got started in it because I was um, a little backstory. I moved around a lot growing up, had to become really social. In grade 10, I went to Columbine High School, and so at that point, I realized that there was something innately wrong with the way that the world worked. Not while I was there, but when this shooting happened, I was in my first year of university, and I was like, "Oh shit, there's something wrong with the way that boys are interacting, men are interacting." And I remember there being a big bully culture there. I was bullied a lot, but I was able, because I moved around so much, I was able to navigate the bullying better than these two kids were. Um, Fast forward a little bit. I'm in university. I'm studying communication. The day I finish up school, literally the day I hand in my last paper, I'm diagnosed with skin cancer, and I have a piece of cancer on my face. And I don't know if it's going to pick up here on Zoom, but so I have to have major surgery on my face at 23,
Mm.
big scar on my face. I had to like separate the skin and stretch it up. It was a whole thing. And I go into depression. I become kind of a recluse. I don't want to talk to people. Fortunately, I had a great group of friends, but I certainly couldn't talk to a woman I was attracted to, or making new friends, or going out and networking was terrifying. So I had to relearn this stuff and redevelop my confidence. And I did that over some time. And then at a certain point, I realized that this was also a teachable skill. And I started working with some friends on it. And we developed social fluency. And we've worked at Apple, Google, Deloitte, YouTube. Um, we worked with thousands of people in the companies, but also just individuals, thousands of individuals, training them in body language, conversation, humor, assertiveness. And it's funny because more and more we're seeing this conversation around, technology is a problem. Like the way that it's affecting our minds and society is a problem. There's lots of good things, cool, but we can't ignore the, you know, divisiveness and the patterns and how it makes us more socially isolated and all these sorts of things. I've been saying that for well over a decade. I've been teaching. I've social fluency started in 2008, and I've been teaching this stuff for, you know, 14 or 15 years. And I have been ringing this alarm bell since we started
Mm.
that social media and the new technology um, is a real problem. And it's coming to a head and people talking about it, but it's also frustrating because I was trying to avoid all the social media, and that's how you need to get your word out these days. So um, it's been a it's been kind of like validating, but also frustrating to see like the Social Dilemma movie, which is such a good movie,
It
but
is.
like but it's like, yeah, okay, so they're interviewing all these people who started these companies, and they're all like in their mansions being like, oh man, that was the worst, those companies are the worst, I wish I hadn't started it. It's like, okay, well, why don't you give your mansion back? If you feel so bad about it, why don't you donate all your money and start something new?
Mm.
Um so yeah, I think we need to go back to this human connection, because that's where we're most happy. Online dating and social media is like, it's like social fast food. We're
Garbage.
so far, it's garbage, and we're so far from the process. Like we're not even like cooking our meals, let alone hunting for the food, or being able to like go forage. We're just like showing up and being like number 3,
Mm.
and that's not what fulfills us emotionally. That's not going to do it. What does it is human connection,
Yeah.
and obviously this is the magic of Zoom. So we're doing this, but when you're in Vancouver next, we're going to have a coffee, and that's going to feel even that much better,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I love coffee.
I find it funny that the most popular TV shows are Friends and all these kind of shows that are about people getting together and connecting, and then people are
Totally.
watching this alone in their apartments instead of
Yeah.
connecting with their
Yeah. That's like the
friends.
saddest thing. People sitting there watching Friends alone,
Yeah.
just
I wish I
eating
had those
popcorn.
friends.
Yeah,
Totally. Like,
exactly. They're
and
my
there's
friends.
1 million people outside of your building are doing the same thing, and
Yeah,
they just want to get
exactly.
together. And
Yeah, that should be a thing. Friends viewing parties where you have to watch them with other friends.
you have to bring at least one friend
Yeah,
to
exactly. I like
Friends.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
The rule.
I've got one more question for you, and this is one I've wanted to ask you actually for a little while.
Okay.
What feedback do you get from women that know men that have taken your course?
Oh, that's cool.
Hmm.
Um, well, I'd say my wife is probably where I get most of the feedback, because she meets most of the people. Um, and there's been a few other women, I'd say. It's always okay. So I'd say let's I'm going to answer this question in two parts. One is like how they respond to the men that have taken my course. One, they're like, thank God men are interested in self development because it is one of the most important qualities that a man can have is the interest and awareness in self development.
Yeah.
Because that's huge. That speaks to your potential. Um, so that's like I'd say the first thing is they're always like, okay, I'm very impressed with these men doing this work. Um, and then the other thing would be like every time my wife shares with, so my wife's like a tattoo artist, and her demographic is literally just all beautiful, you know, 20 to 35-year-old women, somewhere in there. And so it's just like the guys who I work with are very interested in the girls that she works with, the women that she works with. And across the board, every time my wife talks about what I do, the women are always like, wow, oh, that is so amazing. I love that that's a thing that's happening, that men are working on this part of their life.
Yeah.
Because, you know, again, women, again, I don't just work from a dating perspective, as you know, that's a part of it. It's a big part of it, but it's really just like life. Anything that has social involvement is social fluency related. But women don't want to meet men on dating apps.
Mm.
This is the last place they want to meet a man. Now, yeah, of course, they don't want you to be like weird in like a quiet street. They want you to be normal in a cafe.
Mm.
That's what they want. And
Confident.
here's something that I've been thinking about recently, and I posted in the group about this, which is men want to avoid public approaches because we're we might get judged, right? There's this fear of being judged by strangers. It's a valid fear. Women want to avoid private approaching. So women don't want to be approached in quiet places where there's no witnesses
Mm.
because death, because
Yeah.
that's a genuine fear, and it's a fair fear for women to have.
Yeah.
And so men need to get over their fear of, oh, I would rather just do it where no one hears it. You need to get over that fear, because the only place it's going to go well is in a like a public-ish place. It doesn't mean that you have to do it on stage with people watching, but at a park where there's lots of people moving around,
Mm.
in a cafe where it's busy and bussing, where there's uh, public transit, somewhere where they don't feel like they have to worry about their safety. So it's like we need to be bold and get over our fear, which is
Mm.
a genuine fear, but it's not the same level of fear that they're dealing with. We need to get over our fear and approach women in a place where they feel comfortable, which is the grocery store, cafe, park, on a busy street. In life, that's where the approaches need to happen. So that's just something that I've been thinking about as a reframe for guys, is
Yeah.
like that's where it has to happen.
Yeah. And I think to be able to do it in a healthy way, and I totally believe that's what your course did for me, like just to give me the confidence to just even start up a little conversation. And then I just felt like I was on a nice little cloud. And then any other conversation I had started at a higher level of confidence for me. And I'm
Yeah,
sure that's attractive to women,
absolutely. I mean, it's attractive to everyone, right? Like,
everyone. And that's
like
what I think your course
even
does.
if you were chatting with me, and we're just two guys, but I feel your energy is really confident and
Yeah.
relaxed, and not leaning into me too much, just kind of leaning back and being curious, but not like overly invested in me. I'm going to be like, oh, who's this guy?
It's well wanted in the world.
Needed even.
Yeah. But we're going to go
Yeah.
down, but we're going up because of people like this. And yeah, I wanted to thank you, Devon, for this. And
Thanks, man.
how do we find you? I know I'm going to put some links in this,
Cool.
but
Yeah, best place is just socialfluency.com.
okay.
Hit me there, or like my Instagram and all these things are fine. But the best place is just to go to my website, socialfluency.com.
Beautiful.
Yeah. My
Thanks, man.
Instagram is @courage.
Oh,
So
nice. I didn't know that.
an easy one. Yeah.
Add courage. Cheers.
Cool.
Thanks, Devon.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.
The breeze came down from back